Hello, and welcome to another episode of AWS Tech Tales. I'm your host, Matt Burke.
And I am your co-host, Samara Reaño. Welcome back, everyone. I'm hoping
Welcome
everybody
back,
has a good
everyone.
start of the week.
Good start of the week. Good, getting into the real for folks that are on that school schedule. You're finally in it this week.
Yes.
So welcome back. Let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from. Welcome back to the show. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, AWS Tech Tales is the show where we talk about real-life customer issues, what you can do to solve them. And today, sometimes we have episodes that don't quite live up to that log line, and today it definitely does. We had a real-life customer issue. We have our guests here that worked to solve them, and now we're going to share the fruits of their labor with you. We're going to talk a little bit about hybrid AI gateways.
Oh, hi, Erie. Thank you for joining.
We'll click at the same time. Thanks so much for joining.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. So Zamara and I were talking in the chat last week. If you haven't checked out our episode, that is live on our show page. I'm getting a lot quicker and faster on updating that now because of the new platform on Builder Hub. So I will post a link to that recording. Give me one sec. And we were talking about Kiro with our friend Ria.
Yeah. And I know that a lot of you, as you were following along Ria's presentation on it, a lot of you were trying to get on the wait list to use it. So we're very curious to know, did any of you happen to get out of the wait list, had a chance to play around and have some fun with Kiro? Give us your feedback. Let us know how it went.
So I'm posting if you don't know what Kiro is, it's our new AI IDE tool. It was really exciting to watch Ria walk us through all the different ways that you can use it. And it's a different way of thinking about AI. So I encourage you, if you haven't seen it, to check it out. And then not on the wait list, sign up. We're hearing from folks that they had been waiting a few weeks. So we're hoping that maybe some of you, I don't know if Erie, if you ever got off the wait list, or if anyone else, the reviewers, have it downloaded or testing it out today.
Yeah, I know. I personally enjoyed it a lot because it looks like it speeds up the development process a lot, especially when you're in pretty much like that kind of formulating and putting together your idea, just kind of like a fun group project to work towards, especially because she made it so much fun by doing it about traveling, which is one of my favorite pastimes. So yeah.
Erie saying, no, they're still waiting.
But
they just signed up. They just signed up off last week's episode. So hopefully maybe we'll get some other folks that joined in last week and they let us know if they got off. I hope so.
That's cool. That's cool. But hey, before we jump into today, just kind of wondering, Matt, how was your weekend? How was everything?
Oh, it's good. It's good.
Any changing of weather over there yet? Any signs of, fall?
So Zamara's asking that because I'm based in New York. She doesn't get. You get some seasons up and that stuff?
Not too much. Not in the way that you experience it in New York. Over here is still pretty hot, actually. I'm in California. For those of you that are joining today's stream, and we're still very high 80s, even getting to 90. So it's pretty much summertime still here.
Yeah, it's still pretty warm in New York. It's about 75, high 80 here, so it's not.
So then
we're still in summer mode, I think.
Yeah, I guess. All right.
So I think with that being said, we're gonna start to move into our topic today. We've got two guests, but I'm gonna bring in the first run. We got Iriatis before that saying, I've missed the fall in the Northeast. It's 88 in LA. Yeah. It's been really hot in LA recently, is what I've been hearing. All right, so I will bring in our first guest, Lamright, to talk a little bit about himself and the solution that they've been building.
Awesome.
Hey, Lamright, welcome to AWS Tech Tales.
Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, we should ask you what's the weather like right now where you are, because that it's 81 in Chicago, so that's pretty warm for Chicago.
That's pretty warm.
10 degrees where I am today. UK, just for perspective, so we use Celsius. So 10 is like, I think, 41 Fahrenheit or thereabout, maybe 45.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So you're in the
So,
colder side.
Yeah.
yeah, it's beginning to get close to winter, so it's getting warm. It's no more, and it's beginning to rain. If you know anything about London, it rains a lot, so it's beginning to, we're getting back to the rain.
Oh, okay. So it's like you always have to have an umbrella or like,
Exactly.
like with you.
Just
All right.
texting me quick shot.
Thank you for joining today. For our viewers, can you introduce yourself and then just kind of share your role and what you do here at AWS?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Larry Ford. I'm a senior solution architect for the financial services sector. I've been with it for years now. I basically work as a tech advisory for our enterprise financial services customers, helping them with how they onboard solutions onto the AWS, and spinning on from migrations to optimization and best practices on how to use the cloud.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about, like, set the stage in terms of the customer problem that you had recently that you wanted to share with our viewers.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, everyone is talking about AI and everybody's trying to be productive with AI. And when I say AI, I'm kind of tilting towards generative AI, right? So just to set the context, right? When I say AI, I'm more on generative AI side. There's been a lot of innovation around the generative AI space in this past, and enterprise are kind of very keen on how to boost the productivity of the organizations and seeing how to boost revenue lines. So one of my customers, I've been thinking about how to improve their productivity, and they ended up with they currently run workloads within AWS and also on their on-prem environment. So hybrid has been a natural forte for them. And with Gen AI as well, they also want to leverage AI solutions for their on-premise workload and on the cloud as well. So they came up with a hybrid AI gateway solution that makes it possible for their customers and both their internal client as well to access AI gateways from on-prem or within AWS.
Interesting.
Awesome. And now, do you want us to bring in your screen? I know you wanted to share something too.
Yeah, I have a screen. I have a slide that shows the customer journey of how they went from this old hybrid AI gateway solution. And towards the ending of the presentation as well, we'll walk you through a demo of one of the platform using leveraging AWS to help them expedite their solution. So
Awesome.
So like I mentioned, I'm going to be discussing why enterprises are adopting AI gateways. I'm going to be highlighting the various deployment options that are available for the enterprise to leverage AI gateways. And like I mentioned, we're going to come up with a demo that shows you how you could build a serverless solution that leverages Amazon Bedrock, Amazon Lambda, to bring in custom models into your area gateway. So starting from the very basics, why are enterprise leveraging AI gateways? Like I said in the intro, right? There are different reasons why enterprises are thinking around AI gateways. Like I said, AI gateways is synonymous to API gateways that we've been very familiar with in the past, whereby you want to have like a centralized location where you can control access to your internal services. So enterprise, like my customers, are building solutions that makes it possible for them to gain scalability. By scalability, I mean they already have GPUs running on on-prem environments, and sometimes they get to the limit of those resources, and they want to be able to scale out cloud. And AI gateways makes it possible for you to have a centralized location where you can access generative AI solutions. And if you need more capabilities, or for example, if there are some models that you don't have available with your on-prem solution, and you want, and they're available in the public clouds, in case in point AWS, for example, you can use the same inference location to access those models. So AI gateways, hybrid AI gateways give you that capability to scale up your AI workloads.
Really quick, I have a comment from Rachel saying, this might sound silly, but for some reason, I didn't think that AI and on-prem were friends or friendly. And Rachel says, well, that's so cool right after that.
Yeah, definitely, right? Because the way you need to look at it is workloads still exist on-prem. There's a lot of exist on-prems, and that can leverage AIs. And some enterprises are still a bit skeptical about bringing those data into the cloud. So what you get with AI gateways like this is you have a standardized way in which your customers can actually access AI solutions, whether the workload is on-prem or on the cloud. So that's one of the advantages you get with this hybrid approach to building AI gateways. Like I was mentioning, right, the governance option is really critical for enterprise customers, right? They want to be able to control the LLM access that you have, models are you using for these regulatory reasons. They want to be able to show that it's been properly tested and vetted in terms of the output. They want to be able to ensure that there's a standardized way in which they can know which of the what are the AI, what are the workloads that are using AI in our enterprise. What kind of models are those workloads? So with an AI with a centralized base, it makes it easy for you to spin up those reports that makes it clear and easy for you to guide your AI workload. Then finally, one of the advantages that we've seen why enterprises are adopting AI gateway is the all reasons for hybrid in the first instance, right? Enterprise have workloads on-prem and on the cloud, and it makes it easier for them to leverage AI capabilities where their existing applications exist. So for, like I mentioned, for existing workloads on-prem, you can use a standard AI gateway solution to actually leverage that. And for workloads that are running on the cloud as well, there's a common control plane that you can use to access these AI gateway solutions. So those are one of the reasons why we've seen enterprise adopting strategy for AI gateways. In terms of
Really quick,
deployment,
Rachel's got one more comment. Said, I sold SaaS where on-prem was a dirty word, but like a reality for any enterprise org. So that's cool to know.
okay, yeah, thanks about that. Yeah, in terms of deployment options, right? I'll be focusing more on the deployment. So for your on-prem environment, right, you definitely have the standard stack, you have VMwares, or you have your bare metal software, and you use to that. So that's standard. But when it comes to deploying an hybrid AI gateway, you have various options on the AWS cloud in terms of how you deploy your AWS your AI gateways. So if you look at it from the hybrid perspective, right, I said there's going to be a centralized control plane for where you're going to access. And from there, you can now decide to route your traffic to either the on-prem instance or the AI, or your instance that's running on AWS, depending on parameters that you can set based on the kind of applications that's accessing it or the type of workload, the type of inference that you're trying to do. So in terms of deploying on AWS, there are various options in which you can adopt. One of the key options, it's barely just running them on Amazon EC2, right? And this was what happened with our customers as well. When they deployed and they already had a solution running on-prem, and they wanted to do like a lift and shift of that solution to the cloud. And the first option that they went with was trying to deploy, get GPUs, and have standardized on EKS, which is Elastic Kubernetes Service. So they wanted to run containers also on the cloud. And because of one of the new capabilities that we have with EKS right now, which is EKS Auto Mode, gives them that capability to reduce the heavy lifting of managing EKS workloads. So in the enterprise, they've standardized and said going forward, they want to standardize with EKS workload. But if you understand EKS Auto Mode very well, you realize that some of the drivers that come with EKS workload are controlled by AWS. So you have that limited flexibility in terms of native drivers that you can install into your container instance, because yes, EKS auto by default with Bottle Rocket OS, so with just bare metal. So that gave them some limitations, because when they tested the application on their on-prem environment, they use specific driver versions, and that was what they want to implement in AKS Auto Mode. But they realized that AKS Auto Mode can, without the customer consent, update the driver version. So that led to some kind of concern in stability of the EKS that they'll be running on the cloud. Next option in Amazon SageMaker is a service that makes it easy for a customer to build, train, and deploy AI workloads within AWS. And with the team that we were working with, they were very new to Amazon SageMaker, so they find it seems like a learning curve for the team to go from deploying EKS, because the DevOps thing that they had that was running on the on-prem environment was also the same DevOps that was running that had to deploy it on the cloud. So it looked like a learning curve for them in terms of trying to adopt SageMaker to build and train. And for them, they add those standard models that they've created, and they just wanted to run inference workload on to the solution we're exploring later, leveraging Amazon's Bedrock. Amazon Bedrock, if you don't know about it, is our most flexible way of building and scaling generative AI workloads and including agents on the cloud. With Bedrock, you have a serverless option, very easy for you without needing to manage infrastructure, or like you would do with EKS, or being in control of your deployment pipeline like you would do with SageMaker. And Bedrock, you have the capabilities to choose from the various models that already exist within Bedrock. You can also decide to, like the Apple within our customer, your own custom models. And for our customer, they had custom models that they wanted to enable on Bedrock. So with Bedrock, custom ability to be able to import those models into Bedrock and use that part of the capability that they had within their hybrid AI gateways. Also, one particular thing that really made them excited about I find it very difficult to install Llama 3 models in their on-prem environment. But with Bedrock's native capability support for that, it made it easier for them to redirect any workload that requires Llama 3 workload. Then that requires Llama 3 models. They add a logic in there that just defaults to the AI model running on AWS. And also,
so really quick, I just have some comments in the chat. So I have Kirsha saying, I love AWS. I'm glad to be here. We're happy that you're here. And then we have Rachel asking some questions. As that limited, which you mentioned earlier, in actual functions / results to limited in terms of user knowledge, education, for the AP Prem. I'm not sure if I'm reading it right, but do you get what they're asking for, Lonnie?
I'm not sure. I think the last time I mentioned limited will have been when I was describing SageMaker. I assume what they're referring to is the team that was the for deployment were not familiar with SageMaker. So what I meant then was that they had to go through a learning curve to get familiarized with SageMaker. So that's what leading the SageMaker deployment process, or leveraging a serverless option, which Bedrock gives you. So it was an easier option in terms of leveraging Bedrock instead of SageMaker.
Okay, great. Yeah, okay. It says, okay.
Yeah. Great. Nice. Then in terms of Bedrock as well, apart from you importing your own model, well, there's also a growing number of marketplace models now that are readily available. Although that's something that the enterprise are still a bit skeptical about because they want to have control over which model and gets run. But custom models seems to be the preferred choice because they can, for some of those models, they actually fine tune those models and put in their own data set as well to ensure that it can give them the reliability that they expect. In terms of custom model import, is a capability that makes it possible for you, like there, to import models from repositories like Organ Face, which is a popular repository for also the models that you've trained. And the way it works is that it reads the model, it downloads the model from the source, say for example, Organ Face, uploads that into it's a batch job to import that model into Bedrock. The advantage of that is that with services with Bedrock is that you have a simplified API, which makes it very easy for you to consume all those models, irrespective of the model that you select, and that API in front of that. So you benefit from those access as well. With custom model import, well, also benefit from other features that Bedrock it's especially like guardrail that makes it possible for you to secure and control on. So as we move on, I would like to demo what we finally ended up with our customer in terms of how they deployed their solution. So on a very high level, what they have here in the architecture is that they have their own AI gateway that is running on-prem. And for instances where they need to import model specific for models that are not existing in on or that are not native to Bedrock, they adopted an architecture whereby and from the AI gateway, we send to Amazon API gateway and say they want to import a model. In that request, they're going to pass in the model ID of that model in Organ Face, which is the repository used for downloading the model. What happens next is there's an API listener, a Lambda API handler that is listening to those API requests that just captures the model ID from the request that sent to API gateway. And depending on the models, there might be a need for you to also feed a store if secure your secret manager. If required, for models that require that. After that, then what you just need to do is to submit a job into AWS batch. Why are we using AWS batch? Because for some of those models, there are limitations in terms of how long it takes you to download the models, and based on the amount of memory that's available to you with Lambda, and also sometimes it might take a long time to download the models. So that's why batch comes into picture and makes it easier for you to be able to run the job asynchronously. So what happens is when you submit the job, then online went back to the calling API, telling him that the job will be downloaded. In terms of AWS batch, what we use is that we run ECS Fargate tags in the batch itself. So when you start the job, what happens is that the batch process pulls the Docker image from our container registry, ECL in this case, to start the ECL job. Then it goes on login phase using the model submitted people to download models that is required for this batch job and downloads that into S3. Then the third thing that happens after that is that a Bedrock job that imports the model into Amazon Bedrock. That way, it simplifies the import process of Bedrocks that import.
So specifically, this architecture is just for that import of the initial model, right? Like, so this isn't what you're using to actually access the model itself. It's just, hey, there's a new version that got released. I need to go through this pipeline in order to get it ready to give to my users. Is that correct?
Spot on, yeah. So one of the other capabilities that we have in this is also helps you manage versioning of those import models as well. So as soon as we import those models into Bedrock, we help you maintain a version such that you can now have some applications in the previous version and others can decide version of the imported model. For the AI gateway itself, the capabilities remain the same. They still have, from the consuming side, there's a standard API that the client use to access the AI gateway. And within the AI gateway component, depending on the parameters, they decide how to route the traffic. Is that clear?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, so that's that about the application itself. I would be bringing Liam now, who is also who worked with me on the solution as well, for us to demo what we've developed within the solution. And also Liam will be talking about some new capabilities that have just been released around custom model import.
Okay, let's bring him in. One sec.
Hi, everyone.
Liam, welcome to the show. You want to give us a quick introduction to you before we kind of dive into your content?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Yeah, just to introduce myself, I'm a customer solutions manager on the financial services division of AWS, working closely with Lonray on a day-to-day basis. And yeah, excited to demo this solution.
Awesome.
Great. Let me pull up your screen.
Perfect. Yeah. So as Lonray touched on, Amazon Bedrock is a great solution to kind of provide access to different large language models that you can then communicate with via API. And there's a lot of models out of the box that work with Amazon Bedrock. However, there's also a whole bunch of models on the platform of Hugging Face, where there's tons and tons of open source models that individuals or companies might want to use to create different generative AI applications. So just to start, this is the Hugging Face page. As you can see, there's 2 million models that are available.
Wow. Okay.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a ton of models. And so all of these different models are organizations or individuals that felt the desire to either create a new AI model from scratch or to fine tune an existing model for a particular use case. And so when organizations are thinking about building out these enterprise generative AI capabilities, obviously they could use the out-of-the-box models that are available in Amazon Bedrock. And they can also now, due to custom model import, use a lot of these models that are available in Hugging Face that different organizations or individuals have fine-tuned or trained. And that's what we'll be walking through today.
Awesome.
So a particular model that is popular in the open source like LLM community is the Llama family of models. So this family of models is created by Meta. It's a series of large language models that you can use via custom model import. You can also use via on-demand capacity in Amazon Bedrock. So you can kind of just spin up your API and start sending requests to Bedrock, or you can import it and fine-tune it for your own needs or use cases. So to walk through our solution, let me pull up my console.
And if folks have any questions, they want to dig into any of these things, please let us know in the chat too.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So to start off with our solution, the first thing that we're going to do is copy the model ID. So let's just say we want to import this model into Bedrock so that we can host it so that inference is done all for us and that we can start sending requests. The first thing that we're going to do is copy this model ID. So a particular part of Hugging Face is that model IDs are unique. And so you'll never find a model ID that is duplicated. And therefore, it's kind of a single identifier to know that this model is the correct one that we want to kind of work with. So first step is copy the model ID, and then we're going to go to our console. So to simulate this hybrid AI gateway functionality, we've created an API gateway to simulate sending an API request to kick this off. So it seems like I've been signed out of my account. So give me one moment.
Yeah, I'll pull your screen off really quick. That often happens where guests come on, they log in before they go live, and then of course by the time that you actually go to do the demo, it's like, yeah, never mind. That's security policies. It works, folks.
Yep, that happens. Demo luck. So if we pull this back up, it now works, thankfully. And we can go to our API gateway. So what we're going to do now is we're going to send a request to our model importer system. So this kind of kicks off the process, and we can go and simulate sending a request to this endpoint with this model ID. So let's test this out and create our request. So we're going to go and define our model ID of the open source model that we want to import. And then we're going to put that unique model ID that we pulled from Hugging Face right here. And so once we have the API request configured, we can then go and send it off.
And so, folks, again, this is the going through the demo architecture that Ray just showed. So this is kind of how you would do this once you have it all deployed and set up.
Yep, absolutely. And so now what this does is we can see that it submitted the model import job for this particular AI model. And so what this does is it downloads all the information from, puts it into Amazon Bedrock, and spins up a set of containers that allow us to now communicate with this generative AI model. So if we go back to Hugging Face, we can go and check out exactly what it's downloading. So for the Meta Llama model, if we go to the files, we can see that there's a host of files that are necessary to run and host a large language model. So what this pipeline does is it goes and downloads all these different files from Hugging Face, puts it into an S3 bucket, and then Bedrock takes all of the files from the S3 bucket and uses it to spin up a container that you can communicate with and send requests to via the Bedrock API. So now if we go back, we can go back to the console and we can go check out the status of this job. So as Lonroy mentioned, we use AWS Batch to manage the compute for pulling in all of the files from Hugging Face. And we can see that the request succeeded. So if we go check out exactly what it did, it should tell us
really quickly.
Yep.
You need a bigger model.
I know, seriously, yeah. Give a little bit of a delay. So let's check out the logs and see exactly what it said. So if we scroll all the way up, we can see now it's downloading all 17 files that are necessary for hosting this large language model in Amazon Bedrock. And you can see it just goes through each of the files one by one and checks off the list until all of them are downloaded into a particular S3 bucket. And at the end of this file, you can see that once all the files are uploaded successfully, it then goes and creates a Bedrock import job. So a Bedrock import job is just a job to go and import a custom model from Hugging Face into Amazon Bedrock so that it can start spinning up the containers to host this model and start communicating with it, etc. So
I have a joke from the comments. He goes, "How do I get an account ID of all five?" So this is why people are looking. We do hide our account IDs from time to time, so that's why you're getting all fives there.
Yes.
I had a quick question on this. So if I wanted to just do all this work myself, in terms of download the model, put it in a bucket, then try to import it to Bedrock, I could, right? What we're doing here is kind of making this super simple for someone to kind of do this, on an as needs basis over time. Is that the right understanding?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that something that large enterprises focus on is how do we create a repeatable architecture to create these pipelines for importing models, managing versions of these models as we fine tune them. Because the other consideration is that this is a a system to download models from Hugging Face. But what this could also be configured to is a system to allow the importing of your fine-tuned models in any other location, and then spinning them up via Amazon Bedrock. So it's kind of like a multi-purpose tool to show how you can create a pipeline for importing different models from various sources.
Got it.
Yep. So now we can go to Bedrock and see the status of our job. So let's see how the import is going. I gotta say, I might have done a little bit of cheating in importing the model beforehand in case any errors arose. But let's go see the status of the job.
They like to see errors. They want to see it.
We got plenty of them. Don't worry, they're just behind the scenes. So we can see that it imported correctly, and so now it should be able to be used for making requests to it and starting to use the Bedrock API. So now we can transition. Now this is the conclusion of our architecture and how that works. If there's any questions about how you can import different models into Amazon Bedrock, how you can take fine-tune models and import them, feel free to ask any questions in the chat. But now
as we were just mentioning the issue part, what are some of the most common issues that you have come across or heard about whenever going through the deployment of such, like something, let's say, that our streamers can keep in mind while they're trying to pretty much do this themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So if we go into Hugging Face, we can go and start to see different types of models. So since I have the ability to, I'll restart. One of the most common errors that I've found when trying to import models from Hugging Face is that some models in Hugging Face are listed as gated models. And so what gated models are in Hugging Face is they're models that are basically configured by the hoster of the model or the owner of the model to request access on a one-by-one basis. And what that means is that to get access to gated models, you need to create an account with Hugging Face. And specifically for the purpose of using this model import system, you need to get an API token to be able to pull in the various models from Hugging Face. So let me see if I can pull up a model from Llama that we don't have access to, just so that we can get a view into what that might look like. One moment. Yeah, so here's an example of a gated model. As you can see,
I have to give them my birthday. Is that what it said on the top?
What's up?
For date of, yeah, be sure to provide your full legal name, date of birth.
Yeah.
I don't want them to know how old I am.
I gave up that information. They know now. They probably knew otherwise. But yeah, so you can create an enterprise account, I assume, with Hugging Face that allows you to do these types of things. You can also create a personal account to make this work. But yeah, I think it does require, some models require providing personal details or enterprise details.
So then I guess going back to what you were referring to, the gated models, it will be clearly labeled that such model that you're looking at is one of those gated ones.
Exactly. Yep. Okay. And to go and interact with it via API like we did for this system, going into your personal profile, creating an API token to interact is something that's necessary. Another issue that we encountered in creating this solution is ensuring that the files are downloaded correctly from Hugging Face and not converted into any other file types. And so,
what would be another file type?
Just the extensions of the files and making sure that, especially some of these files are, they prefer to be in binary format, even though they have a different file extension. And so just ensuring that the files that need to be in binary format are in binary format, and the ones that should be using the extensions, such as like the JSON files or the Markdown files, etc. It's just so that they're configured correctly between the two. I believe safe tensors are supposed to be binary, and JSON should be in JSON. So it's another issue that we kind of had to work through and figure out.
Makes sense.
Cool. So now we can go into trying to see if we can call this model and interact with it via API. So,
and that would be where the gateway comes in, right?
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So if you're an enterprise customer and you're trying to create an AI gateway to vend access to hundreds or thousands of models, then this is kind of where the rubber meets the road, and whether or not the inference is working correctly, that's going to determine, whether you can kind of sell this or use this internally or externally, et cetera. So let's go and see if we can call these models. Awesome. Can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. So to test out this model, we did a pretty simple Bedrock request. So what we're doing is we're using the Boto 3 package, and we're creating a Bedrock client to call Bedrock, and then using the standardized invoke model API that works across almost every model it works across every model in Bedrock, to then go and send a response or a request and a prompt and try to get a response. So let's see if we run this. It should work. So this is the ARN of our model that we just created. So let's try this.
Just to add some more context why it's trying to run that, right? In the context of the AI gateway, right? What the enterprise customers would do is they have a standard API in front of that, and they have a proxy to AWS Bedrock API. So the interface for customers would be proxy directly to this invoke model and all the Bedrock
Can you
API.
say it one more time, because you're breaking up just a little bit, so I want to make sure that folks get context.
So what I'm saying is that as regards the API gateway, what enterprise customers actually do in terms of hybrid gateways, they have their own interface where their customers consume, right? And in that way, apart from some of the various components that they have, there is billing, they have the centralized, and they have a proxy to the cloud. So it's that connects to AWS Bedrock, and that's what it calls the Bedrock API that does the actual of the Bedrock models.
Okay, great.
So as we can see, our request was sent and it came back with a response. So as you can see, our prompt was, "How are you today?" And it came back with a whole list of information. It's an open source model, and obviously to get a response that we might want, you might want to configure the prompt a little bit better and change a few things. But as you can see, yeah, it works. It gives a response, and it's available to run with inference on Bedrock. Any questions on this? This is pretty straightforward before we move on.
No, I think that we're good from the chat side.
Perfect. So the next thing that I want to touch on and explore is that there's a few features in custom model import that allow for more granular data when you're using your own custom imported models, especially for particular types of architectures. So I think that we have a blog post that we can drop in the chat that outlines a few of the different models that we support for this new feature called log probabilities in custom model import. So to give a little bit of context, when large language models generate responses, they generate responses token by token. And in the case of a response, a token is just like either a word or a set of words, and then it continues to chain them on until it completes the response to the request. And so something that the custom model import team has released and released a blog about just last week is something called log probabilities. So what log probabilities is a feature that allows for confidence scores for every token generated. So as a large language model responds, each token that it generates, you can see the kind of confidence score that it has in each word as it is generated. And so what that can allow for is testing and analysis of how confident you believe the response is from your models. So we have a simple script right here that invokes the same model that we just imported into Bedrock using log probabilities and showing how those log probabilities might work. So
okay.
You can see it's the same thing as before. We make a Bedrock client. We have the prompts. We have the tokens. And then lastly, we enable log probabilities. And so this allows us to see on a token by token basis the confidence that we have, or that the large language model has in its response. So let's run this. So the first prompt is the quick brown fox jumps. And then we can see that it has returned the various log probabilities and their scores. So we scroll back up to the top. Sorry, let me remove one of these prompts, or two of these prompts. Let's just do one prompt and look at kind of the results of what it returns. I'm going to rerun this.
So what are we expecting when we run this command?
Yeah, we're expecting to see the various tokens of the sentence, aka each token is probably going to be broken up by each word, and the various log probabilities that Amazon Bedrock assigns to each token. And so each log probability is essentially a score of how confident you can be in the response, using the score. So, and then lastly, the probability score is just like a rough estimate of how likely that token is based on the log probability. So log probability is like a hard tangible number that is outputted from Amazon Bedrock. And then the probability is like a custom metric that we've kind of tuned to see whether this is a surprising output for that particular token or whether it's an expected output for that particular token.
Because it says surprising and very surprising. So there's levels of surprise.
There's levels.
I have a dumb question. So it's a 5-word sentence, but you have 6 tokens. How come?
Yeah, let me go back up. It seems to have.
Oh, I see. The first, I didn't see that first. If you go back up one to token 1, there's nothing there. See, like, go back. First token, no prediction possible. So whatever that was, my assumption is that's weird.
Yeah, that is weird. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep.
Does it? I mean, if we had like an extra space, that would not count it, right? In the syntax of things.
I don't know if how spaces are counted. So if we go to the blog, you can see that it's possible for a token to be like a space or like a comma or like some type of punctuation. So it could be that it breaks things down into more granular pieces. Sorry, Lauren.
Do you want to try with the other text and see how that comes with?
Yeah, definitely.
See
Let's
the
go
return on that one.
And while you're doing that, I have some Rachel's asking, can we ask high-level industry or overview questions for you guys in the chat? Yes, you can. So please let us know your thoughts, and we'll try to answer them to the best of our abilities here.
Yes, it's no talk. Is that the new one? First token, no prediction.
Yeah, it seems like it's rerunning all of them. So what the issue might be actually is that as you can see, there's 512 tokens that are being generated, but we might not necessarily want that much. And so what the model might be is it just might be responding in like a massive chunk of paragraph text. And so what if we go and change the max tokens? So I'm going to go ahead and test that out and see if we can change the tokens that are given back. So let's ask for like 5 tokens back.
Can I have them back, please? So this is I like this question a lot, Rachel. So Rachel says, I know this may sound stupid, but why do we care how well the AI company can predict its model? I like this question. Why do we care?
That's a great question. Yeah, I can take that one. So when you have a large language model that returns a response, being able to be confident in the accuracy of that response is important for a whole host of reasons. So let's give a hypothetical example. Let's say that you have a large language model like this, but let's say you give it access to a tool or some other website that it can control on your behalf. So let's say this large language model can operate my Facebook account, and it can post different posts for me on Facebook. And so imagine that I want to go and send, I want to send it a prompt and say, hey, can you post about my week for me? It was very good. I really enjoyed going to the beach. And then if it starts to go and create a response to this to post on Facebook, and it's a bunch of like really random outputs that I don't necessarily want, that don't correlate to the information that I gave it, it can just go and do a bunch of unexpected results that I don't necessarily want. So through confidence scores, it gives us the ability to be sure that the outputs are what we want. And so for an enterprise, specifically for financial services, it's really important because if you have an AI agent that is managing your customer service systems, it's managing your financial systems, you want to be sure that you can be confident in that the responses that the LLM gives you are accurate to what you want it to accomplish. Yeah, so that's.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I hope that answers your question, Rachel. And I also just want to give us a quick time check. We got a little bit, 5 minutes left on this. So if there's other things that you want to pull up in the last 5 minutes, let's do it.
Perfect. That sounds good. Yeah, another thing that we can touch on are a few of the other like model variants that are available on Hugging Face. So as you can see, we kind of went through and downloaded the Llama 3.1 model. So if I go back to that, we can see that this is kind of the one that we are using. But there's a whole bunch of variants that various companies and organizations and individuals have fine-tuned, and that you can also go and then take those, and as long as they match the general architecture of this particular model, then you can also import those as well. And so that's kind of the flexibility that this feature set offers. Custom model import currently has a subset of architectures that it supports. So it supports Llama, it supports Mistral, a few other companies that are creating these types of models, and all of the various fine-tunings and variations of those particular architectures. That number is expanding pretty rapidly, but that's just as a heads up to anybody that's looking to use this type of system.
So I have one more question from Rachel. She says, how are capability scores measured? Like, what's the scale, and how do I know what's a good score in a bad one?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So in the blog, it outlines kind of the methodology that is used to create these various scores. Let me go and pull up the exact question. So in the blog, it kind of outlines that the log probabilities for values that are closer to 0 indicate higher confidence scores. And then the further away it is from 0, the less confident it might be in that score. So if we go back to this demonstration, we can see that for certain probabilities, log probabilities like 0.001 right here, that's a very high confidence score. And so you can see that the confidence is very high right here. Mm-hmm. And so as far as like the possible range of log probability, I think I would need to go and check out the documentation. I'm not totally sure off the top of my head, but given that it's like a logarithm, I can't imagine that it would go too much higher than the upper bound of the logarithm that's kind of established. But I need to go and see exactly what that upper bound is to ensure that, I don't give you any incorrect information. But I think that the blog should have a little bit of an explainer as far as what those bounds might be.
Fair enough. Okay, so we have, I think, probably 2 minutes left. Anything, I guess, from everything that we have discussed today, any parting thoughts, any best practices or advice that you would give our viewers after, trying to use a solution of sorts on their end?
Yeah, I think that exploring the open source models that are available is an underrated approach to looking at generative AI and seeing all the cutting edge models that are being created. Yeah, I've sure have had fun with it, and hopefully, yeah, it was valuable.
I think for me, log probability is something that we will see enterprise use a lot, because there's been a lot of concerns about we have lots of models available, but how do I examine which of the model is best for this which use case? So testing and use and giving a scientific way of actually getting that's going to make enterprise to be able to really ascertain exactly how best to determine which model works well for their use case. I also know Bedrock also has a capability that is possible for it to help you detect which model you use, but this log probability gives you more insight into how those decisions happen.
Got it. So we've got some quick comments before we sign off. So Rachel says, I'm here all day, fam. You are all awesome. Yeah, so we are here the next 2 weeks, same time, same place. We got a couple exciting episodes for you to close out September. Why Zardox says it's evening for us. So hello. Thanks for tuning in to the end of the stream. If you want to catch up on what's happened once we go off live, the replay will be right there, so you can scrub through and check it out.
Definitely.
And Neo Geo says, this is very interesting. I think it's following up on what you're saying, Liam. In sectors like healthcare and transportation, a model's unpredictability can have life or death consequences. And a self-driving car, for instance, a reliable prediction of how the car will behave in an unusual situation, is essential for safety. I really like this summarization.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great way to put it.
Yeah.
And then Rachel says, thank you for taking questions. My first time. Oh, it's your first time on the channel, so please
welcome.
Continue to tune in. We've got a lot of awesome content that streams on this channel all through the week, especially on Fridays. We've got AWS on air, so subscribe and you'll get notified when we go live. And they're gonna bring some friends next time. That's awesome. So sometimes we get these new viewers that we convert, and they come every week. Like Yuri Edits came in right at the top. So Rachel, welcome to the show. Welcome to the AWS live stream world. I know we're right at time, so Liam, Lenore, any closing final thoughts, calls to action, anything else you want to get out there before we drop off?
Thank you all so much for having us. Yeah, this was a great experience.
Thank you all for coming.
They're still here. Thanks for tuning in the whole time, Yuri. That's so nice of you. So again, we'll be back again next week. We're going to be diving into something really exciting, which is how to build accessible applications. How do you evaluate the apps that you already have for accessibility? How do you build accessible apps? And we're going to be doing it with the whole SA community down in Austin from AWS. So I'm super excited. I hope you guys tune in, and hope the rest of you have a great night. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone. See you next week.
Thanks all.